LESLIE TERRY, and I'm with DCBS TV and Project Planning and Development. And today we have here Miss SHEENA FOWLER, which she is the Orlando Film Commissioner. Thank you for being here.
Of course, happy to be here.
You look so nice today.
Thank you, so do you.
So let's get started, SHEENA. Can you tell us just a little bit about your background and how you got involved with Orlando Film Commissioner?
Certainly, it's been an interesting road, but I started back when I was in high school. My dad mastered Photoshop and wanted something else, so he learned Avid, and I got to learn along with him when I was still in high school. So going into college, where I started at the University of Missouri for journalism, I spent my summers in New York, and I could go in as a PA, or as a post-production intern, and work on Avid. So I started to work with HBO Boxing. That led to a project with ESPN. We did the Women's World Cup, got to work on X Games, Tony Hawk Tour, all sorts of fun projects up in New York. I transferred to Florida State University, where I graduated studying film and humanities. And while I was in New York, I wanted to take my career to the next level, but I didn't quite have every tool that I needed. And I found Full Sail here, actually. So it was a quick program. Didn't need another 4 years of college because I had already been working in it. I just needed a little additional boost. So I came here to Orlando and got exactly what I needed. The only trouble was that I fell in love with Orlando, fell in love with the local market, and I've been working here ever since. You know, finding the Orlando Film Commission was really part of networking. I started joining Women in Film and Television Florida, and that's who introduced me to the Orlando Film Office. And I was persistent, not annoying, persistent, as my former bosses would say. And eventually an opportunity opened up, and it was the right timing, so I got to move in.
Okay. As a student myself, and it's a lot of other students that would like to know, how would a student go about to get involved with some of the projects?
Well, if you go to filmorlando.com, that's my website for the film office here, we have the Orlando Film Book online, and students, whether you have industry experience or not, can go ahead and list as a PA on our website, a production assistant, and it's free of charge. And that's typically the first place that producers who don't know the market well will look, whether they call us first or they just go there on their own. They know that it's a qualified listing. They can take a look at who's available, who's local, and start building their list from there. So it's the quickest and easiest way to get involved. And then the next thing I would say is networking. It's how, it's not who you or what you know, but who you know, and getting out there. And I know it's awkward, and you have really uncomfortable conversations for the first couple times, but it's worth it, and everybody's done it. And that's what's kind of amazing about this industry, is that we all kind of weave our way through, and networking's the best place to start that and build relationships.
So for all the students who are listening, can you give us the website one more time?
Yeah.
So they'll know what to do. Maybe they can, write this down or something.
Certainly. It's filmorlando.com. And then all of our social networking tags are Film Orlando as well. So you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter. I haven't kept up on the Pinterest page, but you might find something there.
Okay.
But my marketing department keeps me busy.
So what advice would you give for students, because we have students all across the world.
Yeah.
So what would they go to their local film commissioner and just ask for the website? Would it be the same process there?
Certainly. I think in Florida, we're one of the few that has a qualified listing. Okay. So the second you move above a production assistant, we're going to ask for 2 call sheets to ensure that you're a professional in the category in which you're listing. It really is helpful when we're talking to producers who are out of market that they trust, that we've started that verification process for them. So all film commissions are different, but afci.org, AFCI.org is the Film Commissioners International website, and you can look for a film commission anywhere in the world. There's over 60 in the state of Florida, so imagine worldwide how many film commissions there are.
Okay. Can you explain to us the term location double or double for what that means? I know a lot of students say, they hear the term, but they don't quite understand what it is.
Well, it's movie magic is what it is, and often due to budget constraints, you're not going to be able to actually film the location in which you're actually saying that it is. And this is what Orlando is really fantastic for. We're a blank canvas where your project can come to life. So we have anywhere, anytime USA locations. We've been shot for the Midwest, the Northeast, California, just about anywhere in the world, Egypt, Africa. It impresses me every day what we're able to match. So we take a location that's generic, has some features that are indigenous to that part of the world, and through set dressing and the characters, it's really going to come to life as that place that you're saying that it is. Or why we have such a large commercial market, it's generic enough to be just about anywhere to where your market's going to be able to identify with it.
So let me just ask you a question, just to see if I understand myself.
Certainly.
So in a movie, in a particular movie, like let's just say maybe Transformers, where they were actually, it looked like they were maybe in Afghanistan or something, but I think they were really here on a beach location in Florida. Is that what the term, like location double, is that me?
And they shot in Cocoa Beach, and they also shot in Orlando. I think we made about 15 to 30 seconds of that film, but a solid day of production here in Orlando. And again, it was a generic hangar. It wasn't very specific, so they just needed a location. And how it broke down to was they needed to use more money in their tax credit. And I know we'll get to that subject in a little bit.
Okay, as a film commissioner, what are some of your primary goals for Orlando's film office?
I think one of the hardest parts of my job is that Orlando is already well known. It's anywhere in the world, people typically have a preconceived idea of what Orlando is. So it's my job to change that, because they typically think of us as theme parks, and we have so much more here in Central Florida. They have no idea that we actually have hills, we have elevation in some parts of our community, that we are anywhere, anytime USA, and that we have an entire infrastructure and industry that's been doing this for decades. This is what we do. We've been doing it for decades, and we're set up to do so. So productions who've been here before come time and time again, but those who haven't been here before, they need a little extra coaxing to see exactly what we have to offer. Now on our website, again, filmorlando.com, we have a location database where they can look at images of our area, and I represent a 4-county region. So they're able to take a look and see that it isn't just Universal Studios and Disney and SeaWorld and all of our fantastic theme parks that we love and are happy to have here, but there's a little bit more to offer.
Okay. Well, Florida is considered a right-to-work state.
Certainly.
Did I say that right?
Yep, right to work
state. Can you explain what that means to filmmakers when hiring a crew?
There's union and there's non-union work. And being a right-to-work state, not all productions have to be a union job. A lot of our commercials end up being non-union work. A lot of our independent films and smaller productions are non-union. So you don't have to be part of a union to work here. Certainly, we have a lot of productions that come through that are union work. And so it's your choice, but it is something to look into if you're considering doing a lot of work, and especially outside of the state. You'll find that the unions are something to look into and explore if it's the right decision for you. It's a personal decision for everyone, and we've had great experiences with both union and non-union jobs.
So earlier you said you were over like 4 counties. Can you name those counties?
Yeah, we're Orange Lake, Seminole, Osceola, and the city of Orlando, and then just about everywhere in between.
Okay. Okay. So what type of resources might a film commissioner offer to like the local filmmakers?
Yeah, film offices are resources, and it amazed me because I worked in this industry for years before I realized how influential film offices could be, and they're free resources. They're your first touch for locations, especially if you're not from that community. You can give them a call or look on their website, see if they have a location database, and take a look at the images that they have to offer. It's also, when you walk into a community that you've never been before, you're typically gonna have to pull some sort of permit, and these are relationships you don't have. You don't know these people, you don't know which office to call, and for us, we're 4 counties. Do you call the county, do you call the city? Who do you need to call? We do all of that for you out of our office. All you have to know is my name or Amy's name, who actually handles all the permitting and locations here, and we'll take care of it for you. We'll walk you through the whole process, and that's what film commissions are really set up to do. Partially to walk you through the whole process of filming in your district, and then also to market and make sure that the rest of the world knows that you want to come film in that area. But if you're doing the same thing as a tourist would do, you're probably fine. Everything else you're going to want a permit. One of the big misconceptions is that when you're filming on private property at a house, you assume you don't need a permit. The exceptions to that are, you know, let's say you've been to a house party before and it's gotten shut down because there are too many cars in the street. We permit to make sure that emergency vehicles can get through the streets. If you're going to be shooting in the backyard or the front yard, when you have lights, you're distracting your neighbors, you're keeping them up late. Permitting allows us to let all of the residents know, businesses know that there's something going on so that they're aware up front. People are much more friendly when they know what's going on rather than being blindsided by this production that they have no idea about. And then certainly whenever you have a permit and you're notifying your residents, you can also include our office number so that they have somebody else to call. It's a business. Sometimes that makes them feel better that they can call and there's a receptionist and someone can say, this is what we do and this is a legitimate company and you're in safe hands. So it makes them feel better. But really, anytime you're thinking you're going to impact public property, that's when you want to use a permit. And in the Metro Orlando region, our office doesn't charge for permits. There's a few places that do have a county permit or a city or location fee. But typically we don't charge. And what's great about the large region that we have, if you do find a location that has a fee per the city or the county, we can usually match that location somewhere else in the county that doesn't have a fee. So that's the other benefit of calling us, is we're gonna be able to give you more information because we do this all day long with tons of different types of situations.
Now, Sheena, you said for us to give you a call. Now, when we call, do we get the recording like, oh, leave me a message, I'll call you back, and then we never get the phone call back?
No.
Okay, so we actually speak to someone.
You do speak to someone, and my office is part of the Metro Orlando Economic Development Commission.
Okay.
So in a larger scale, our office relocates and makes sure that businesses of all different sectors know why this is the best place to do their business. So you're gonna get a receptionist when you call, unless it's after hours for the office, and she'll direct you to the appropriate person. But most of the times you're going to get our voicemail, and we'll call you back as quickly as possible, usually within a day.
So what are the hours?
We're typically 8 to 5, I think is when the receptionist is there. But you can email us or you know, go on our website. We've got lots of different ways to contact us. But we be persistent. If we don't get back to you right away, we're not ignoring you. We're just busy. There's 2 of us trying to do it all.
So, okay, you know, we're students, and sometimes students forget some of the necessary paperwork. So what's the turnaround time? Say we come in and you tell us what to do. We go out and we apply for the permits and stuff. What would be the turnaround time that we're looking at as far as a student?
Well, I think the number one thing to remember, and that's not only here, but anytime you're looking at permitting, is that the film office is going to be the third party. We're communicating with the local government in which you're permitting. It's not our property, it's their property. So you're working with local business or government hours. So national holidays, they're closed. Always keep that in mind. It's typically a 5-day business day turnaround in which we're working. Certainly we've made exceptions, and certainly there's some permits that are faster than others, but given if somebody's out, it takes a little bit longer to reroute that to the appropriate person. So we want to make sure that we have enough time to negotiate. We always want you to ask for your wish list. Go big. Let us know exactly what you would want to do. I tell scouts, and especially new scouts when they're looking, look around you, look 360 at the location, because you never know when you get on set, your director is almost always going to say, I want that, and you didn't permit for that. So as a location scout, you should permit for everything around you, because it's much easier to use less than what you permitted for than to try and get more on a last minute basis. But the permitting process really is there to help you and protect you. We're there to cut through the red tape for you, not to babysit you. I'm not going to come out to every production and say you're not doing this right. I'm going to tell you what you're allowed to do and not to do, and it's up to you to follow the rules or not. You know, certainly productions have gotten shut down before.
Okay, so me being a student myself, so on Monday, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna get my permit to shoot for Wednesday. That probably wouldn't be a smart idea.
Probably not, you know, it's tough. That's a tough one. You know, and depending on, right now it might be possible because we're not as busy, although we've gotten a few permits this week. You know, it depends. That's why we always say call.
Okay.
But be flexible and call in advance.
Okay.
You know, the second you start meeting with and doing pre-production, and every smart production should do pre-production, give us a call, put a bug in our ear, say this is what we're thinking. Because you don't know if there's going to be construction at the location you want, if they're rerouting traffic that day. We're going to be able to help you through all of that. Parades, people don't think about.
Yeah. No, I didn't even
We'll
think
tell you
about
all that.
Okay, thank you. Now, let's talk about some, like the, can you break down like the tax incentive for us? You know, that's
How much time do we have? State tax incentives really have turned this industry on its head. It's pretty much the first question that I get with any producer that I'm talking to. They don't necessarily want to know what locations I have, how many crew members I have, that we have a great talent pool here. They want to know what our state tax incentive is. So for the state of Florida, we have a transferable tax credit. It's 20 to 30% of your Florida expenditures only. So that means we're only giving money back on Florida crew, Florida expenditures. You can't bring in Brad Pitt and we'll give you money for it. We want you to hire the local Brad Pitt because we have plenty. We want you to hire our local crew. So, and we have a cap of $8 million per project. So no matter what your budget is, you're only going to get up to 30% of your Florida expenditures at $8 million. So it's competitive enough to keep us in the game, but Florida was a successful production state prior to state tax incentives and will be a successful production state after state tax incentives. So we have a program that's competitive to keep us in the market, make sure that our locals are getting hired and our talent's getting hired, because in the state of Florida, we have the third largest talent pool according to SAG-AFTRA in the United States, which is something to brag about.
Yeah. So for the students, because as you know, we have students all across the country, all across the world. So for them, for this question, it would be different. They would have to go to their local film commissioner to see, they can just give them a call.
You know, you can either go to your state film office or you can go to like casting crew or entertainment partners, or two good resources for finding out what state tax incentives are available and also what legislation is taking place, because you never know when someone's going to increase or decrease or run out of funds.
Okay. What are some red flags and common mistakes students should look for when producing their first film?
Doing a gangster film, I think, is probably the most common question I get, is they want to use guns. They almost always want to use guns, and they don't want a permit, real or fake. And you can Google it in the news. It's happened here, it's happened elsewhere, that productions have gotten shut down by SWAT teams and real guns to their heads because they didn't inform anyone. And it's a simple mistake because you're caught up in your world. I've been there before, I produced before, and you've so much to cover, but you forget that those around you don't know what you're doing. So trying to guerrilla style film, it doesn't work. We permit all the guerrilla campaigns that you see on television. They permit a large region around them, but they permit. There's nothing that's truly guerrilla anymore. You want to make sure that you're not wasting money by getting shut down.
Okay. Now, can you tell us just a little bit about Florida Green Production Program?
Certainly. You know, it's really a guideline to helping you be more green on set. Reducing the number of copies that you print out. I think that's notorious for the film industry, is that we print multiple copies of scripts and instructions, and as a former proofreader and producer, I proofread better on paper, but you've got to be conscious of how many times you're printing. So we have, especially on our site, filmorlando.com, you can link to all the details on how you can recycle more, print less, and different opportunities to make sure that your production's a little bit greener.
Okay, as a student, how can we go about, how can we tell if a film project, a local film project, is like legitimate or professional? In other words, not a scam. If we want to be involved, or how can we go about and tell?
If they're asking you for money, it's a scam. That's not where you want to be involved. There's lots of projects that are very legitimate in which you will work for free. That's the truth. There's a lot of content that's able to be produced today, and especially now that the distribution models have changed, you don't have to go through a studio to get distribution. There's a lot of content to be produced and a lot of content to be consumed. So working on very slim budgets is very common today. So working for free is common. You just want to make sure that you're working. And typical hours for this industry are tough because they're long. Yes. But you know, you want to make sure that you're being treated as a human being and within decent respects. You know, you always have the right to walk away. But I think certainly when someone asks you to put up the money, it's probably not.
Should be like a red flag.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to go, because we're live, so we're going to go to some of our students across, see if we have any questions. Okay, so we do have a question. We have a question from Charlie Hustle from Charles, Georgia. How many students were able to help with the production we are watching?
Oh, good.
Oh, this is my question. Okay, so I would want to say about 8 students.
Very cool. And they're all doing wonderful.
And thank you. Let's see, 10 Full Sail students from DCBS and Film, are helping out on 4 different stations today, including camera, audio, lighting, and live switching. So out of those students that are here, do any of the students that are helping have any questions for Ms. SHEENA Fowler? Okay. Okay, well, here's one from Brandon from Louisiana. What is the protocol for having a police on set?
You're typically going to want a permit first, and you can call your local film office because they're going to have the connections to find out how you can go through the police office that's in your area. Here, it's a simple process. Most of our officers are not very expensive, but they're going to be charged in a 4-hour rate, and whether you use them for 30 minutes or the full 4 hours, you're going to pay that 4-hour rate per their union requirements.
Now, I do have a question to tag on to Brandon's question. Now, when you're using the officer, do you get to use the car?
No.
No.
Very different between having an officer on set for protection or public safety and having them be on camera. A lot of the public information offices per the police departments across the United States are not going to allow you to do that. Some communities are better with it. They're going to want to see the script. They're going to want to prove the content first. But using an officer on camera is very different from hiring one to be on set.
Okay, got you. So, do we have any more questions?
Okay, we're just going to thank everybody and then take a break and remind them to stay tuned for our video.
Okay. Well, we thank you for coming. That is it for today. We're here with Ms. SHEENA Fowler, the Orlando, Florida Film Commissioner. We'd like to thank our guests, and we'd like to thank our viewers for being with us today. Thanks for watching DCBS TV. Stay tuned for a quick behind-the-scenes video, so don't go anywhere.